Ask not what we all be can do for you. Ask what you can do for we all be.
And that was Bluegrass Raised by Sister Lacresha Berry, also known as a.k.a. Brown Girl. Without further ado, we are proud to present the one and only, a true legend in the making, all the way from Bluegrass via New York City, Sister Lacresha Berry, Brown Girl. How you doing tonight?
Hi. I go by Berry. Brown Girl Bluegrass is my play.
Okay, cool, Sister Berry. I'll just, I don't know, it's cool. Yeah. But yeah, I want to say, I want to congratulate you on your play. You had a play recently, like a 2-date play event. How did that go?
It went really well. The first night we had a packed crowd, and the second night we had 21 people. And it was great, and I sold a lot of merchandise and hopefully getting picked up in the college in the next month.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. I know. You should be excited about that. Because, like, your stuff is so, you got a lot of substance. Like, I remember seeing you at the Saturday event at, I believe, Nicholas in Brooklyn, and I was very impressed by the presentation.
Last month.
Yeah, last month. Yeah, I was very impressed. You get out great enthusiasm. So what is the play about?
Well, I grew up in Kentucky, as you said, when I moved to New York in 2003. And so basically when I was growing up in Kentucky, I didn't know about people that looked like me. I didn't learn about them in the history books. So I decided to create a show where I highlighted important people from Kentucky that looked like me, that sounded like me, that did really impactful things that I've never learned about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I turn into 4 characters on stage, as well as I talk about Kentucky and what it's known for, as well as talk about my family and how all my family and Kentucky and important Kentucky ancestors all go together in one kind of common thread.
So what?
I do it with 7 songs.
Oh, wow. And these are songs you've written yourself, correct?
Yeah, those are songs that I've originally written. I write the lyrics and the arrangements, and I have a composer that works with me as well.
Wow. Well, so I think, like, you said this, like, just doing this work, like starting this play and whatnot, was your first time really researching your roots in terms of knowing about people of color that have did not only just phenomenal things for Kentucky, but also for the country.
Excuse me, he said?
Yeah, actually, this is your first time, like, doing this play, doing this project, researching your roots was your first time finding out about folks of color from Kentucky who did phenomenal things, not only for the state, but also for the country?
Yeah, I mean, the only person that I really knew about was Oliver Lewis, because he won the Kentucky Derby, the first one ever. But everybody else I just learned about a few years ago. Like, I started the research almost 2 summers ago. Summer of 2013 is when I started even before that, I started kind of looking up folks that paralleled my life. So I found a teacher who was the principal for 20 years. I found, of course, the first Derby winner. I found a man who was shot 6 times in the back for getting African Americans to vote. And I also found a woman, she was a former slave of Henry Clay, the great compromiser, as he's called in United States history. And she sued him for her freedom. A slave sued her master for her freedom. So I never heard about that. That was never talked about. But I learned about Henry Clay, but I didn't learn about the enslaved woman that sued him for her freedom.
Wow.
So I decided to talk about that because I didn't hear about it. And I just wanted to provide balance in the history books in a more interactive way.
So it's like you laying a foundation for something very big, I think, especially with your state of Kentucky. What is your hope for your play as it relates to your state? Like, what do you want to do with the play?
I would love to basically provide, like I said before, I basically want to provide a balance, and I would love for students of all colors in the state of Kentucky and all of the counties to be able to say, well, wow, not only is this story a part of my history as a Kentuckian, but I also can share my story as well. Like, for me, I think sharing my story is therapy, and being able to express it in a way where people can understand it and can learn something from it, I think just adds to the selling point of the play. But I definitely want people to be able to say, wow, I can relate to this story, and I have a story of my own to tell. And then hopefully it'll create, a cycle of people just expressing themselves in a way that's therapeutic and cathartic, So.
That sounds great. And also, you're a writer, you're an educator, you're a performer. Do you plan on, creating, some type of curriculum or books as well? I mean, it's like you're just a natural historian.
Right. So getting the show off the ground, I would love to workshop the show where not only would I be teaching people about the history, but also workshopping how to write a dramatic piece, being able to tell your story in a way where people can understand. Because a lot of times we have writers, but sometimes the writers go above our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one thing about Brown Girl Bluegrass is it's real, it's sincere, and it's down to earth so people can get it. A lot of times we get really stuck in our head, and we get really deep and esoteric, and sometimes the story gets lost in all the metaphors and the similes. But for me, I try to keep it as real as possible because I want every age to be able to comprehend the story that I'm telling. And everybody will get something different, like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 25-year-old or a 40-year-old. Mm-hmm. All might get something different, but they will get something from it. So hopefully from that I'll be able to workshop. I'll be able to workshop the story and have people be able to write their own dramatic pieces to share. Because I really think that art and drama and writing and singing is therapy for me. So when people hear me on the mic or when people hear me performing and acting, I want them to be able to feel that sincerity, and I also want them to feel that I'm getting out stuff that has been pent up in me for a long time. And if I don't say it, if I don't do it, I won't heal from it. So that's the whole point of it, is healing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that as a fellow artist and performer and educator. I want to ask you this, too. I know that you are inspired by the history. What about in terms of your artistry and performance? Who or what inspires you? Who are some of your influences?
I'm so happy that you said that because Black Messiah came out on Monday, and I'm like, yeah. D'Angelo was a huge part. I do think that his influences are my influences. So you have Prince, you got Jimi Hendrix. As far as singing goes, a lot of gospel singers I was influenced by. Yolanda Adams. I have a lot of Jennifer Holliday. She was a huge dramatic singer. I love her very much. Also, Stevie Wonder. He helps me as far as arrangements of songs and lyrics, putting a song together. Otis Redding for his soul. Just James Brown for his funk and for his energy. And then a lot of the stuff when I was growing up in high school, like Erykah Badu and all the people that are associated, Jill Scott, all those folks that I listened to when I got a little bit older. But especially when I was young, a lot of Motown, a lot of soul, genuine soul, funk, and rock music was prevalent in my house. So it shows up so much in my singing, and it shows up so much in my energy as well.
And I also want to ask you this, too, because you also went to the University of Kentucky, correct?
I did. Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats. We had your Tyler Perry for a minute, but that's all good. Tigers, Wildcats, all the same family, right?
Volunteer season. Okay. All right.
Well, I want to ask you this, because I'm interested to know, because I know you got an educator's background. What was your intent when you first came to New York City back in 2003? Was it to perform, or was it?
My intent was, I didn't go to school for education, which is a big thing. Education is a big part of my life now. But I got a degree in theater. I got a BA in theater in 2003. So when I moved here, I was going to graduate school for costume design for stage and film because I designed costumes, and I was really into it when I was 23 years old. However, by the time I got here, I was like, I'm really supposed to perform and do all of these things as opposed to just doing one. I got accepted to NYU Tisch School of the Arts, and it was a huge privilege to do that. But for me, the program was too regimented and too routine and too focused on one subject, and when I feel like I should have had more than one subject and created my own major. So I only was there for a year. I got 36 credits under my belt, and then from there I decided to go into to music and performing and education. And next thing I know, I ended up being a teacher, full-time teacher for 10 years in New York City charter school, teaching middle school and English and all subjects.
So how was that experience, like teaching in a charter school situation in a place like New York City?
Well, it's definitely not. It's definitely not private. Charter schools are public, and they're chartered by the state. So therefore, anybody can go to it, but you have to apply in order to go to the school. So that's a different feeling from a public school, but it definitely isn't private. Definitely isn't private. There were no privileged children that I taught. But that experience was great because it humbled me every morning. It humbled me every day because children will let you know what kind of person that you are. And they will tell you about it, and they'll tell you straight up, and they'll let you know when you've let them down. They'll let you know when you've done excellent. They'll let you know if they love you or not. And I do think that they were my first audience. And I do think my audience is primarily going to be the youth. And I want to focus most of my work to the youth. I think adults sometimes don't understand when I let people hear Bluegrass Rays. They're like, what is that, a country western song? And it's not about the genre of the song. It's about the story that I'm telling. And a lot of times kids get it quicker than adults. So a lot of times when I perform for my students, they were giving me standing ovations, and they were loving me and giving me hugs, and some of them already think that I'm famous. And I'm just like, no, I'm not famous. But it was a rewarding, hard, difficult, strenuous, rigorous job, and I grew as a woman because of it. It made me less selfish, you know.
I want to ask you about your family. I know it's like family is very important to you. Is there anybody in your family that has a similar career path, or is this something that you're doing on your own? Like you have no type of blueprint to work from?
She was a huge part of my life. She was basically a teacher in her own right, because you know your parents are your first teachers. So my mom, she was a high school teacher for a while, and I saw her, and she loved children. Children were always at our house. She was like the neighborhood mom, making pancakes for everybody. It was just a wonderful experience with her because it made me appreciate her loving and caring, nurturing personality. And I watched her my whole life. She taught me everything there is to know about life. And to me, I think that she mirrored a lot of the things that are inside of me, of course, because I am her DNA. And when I was looking at people, I was like, I got to find a teacher because I'm a teacher, and my mom was a teacher, and it just so happens that I found somebody, and it was awesome. So, and my father was too, but my mom was. I'm still very close to.
And how often do you go back to Kentucky?
I go back every year, but my mom is here now. She's been here 3 years. My father passed in 2010. So she lives in Queens. We don't live together, but we live in the same borough, so we're close. We're not 13 hours away anymore. We're like 35 minutes away from each other. So give thanks for that, right? So
yeah, Bluegrass in the Empire State, or the Bluegrass in Empire City, whatever it's Gotham. That's pretty cool. So how your mom? How she likes New York? How does she like it?
Oh, she loved it. She loves it. She loves it. She can be more independent because she doesn't drive. She gave up driving a long time ago. Because of, insurance policies and all those different things. But, she likes it because, you can get on a train at any time of the night. She can get around without having to get driven everywhere. And she loves it. And she's a New Yorker now. She's been here 3 years, so she's adjusted pretty well.
That's excellent. And also I want to ask you this as well, too, because you talking about how a lot of famous black folks, including yourself, I would include yourself as somebody, famous relative, I would include yourself in that category, but just given the times right now, y'all just had that march against police brutality this past weekend, and Kentucky has some very exceptional people in terms of civil rights and human rights come out of there. I mean, Whitney Young, the former president of the National Urban League, and also Dr. T.R.M. Howard. You familiar with Dr. T.R.M. Howard?
Oh, I don't actually know of that person.
It's a book. It's a book you should read. Yeah, it's a book called Black Maverick. But Dr. T.R.M. Howard. Okay, I'm going to have to see that. But Dr. T.R.M. Howard was the wealthiest black man in Mississippi back in the 40s and the 50s. He actually opened the first swimming pool for black folks in the state of Mississippi. And he was a medical doctor. He had a practice in Mound Bayou, Mississippi, one of the oldest black towns in the country. And he was the guy who helped us to know about the Emmett Till thing. Like he actually let Mamie Till, the mother of Emmett Till, stay at his home. His home is still up in Mississippi. And also he trained Medgar Evers and Fannie Lou Hamer. He was one of the founders of the Regional Council of Negro Leadership, where they had like 10,000 to 15,000 black folks meet during the summertime. And people like Adam Clay Powell Jr., or Charles Diggs and Mahalia Jackson and Thurgood Marshall would come down to either speak to the people as well as entertain them. Voter registration, owning black businesses. He got rented out the state and ended up settling in Chicago, where he opened up a medical practice on the South Side, I believe. He also was the mentor for Harold Washington, the first black mayor of Chicago. And also he gave Jesse Jackson the seed money to start Rainbow Push Coalition International. So he did all that. That's a guy from Kentucky. So I'm glad to tell you. But, I mean, your state is fascinating to me. I mean, even Dr. King's brother, A.D. King, lived in Louisville for a minute. And, of course, I had Muhammad Ali come out of Louisville.
Dr. King marched to Frankfurt in the 60s, and it wasn't even recorded in the history book. It was recorded as criminal activity, which was amazing. And then you had a lot of people in the 60s and 70s doing huge civil rights movement there. And I got a book called Black Lexington for Gerald Smith, historian. And he made a book called Black Lexington, and it was just amazing. All of the landmarks that I know now in downtown Lexington, a lot of it was recorded back in the 50s and 60s, and it was amazing. It was just awesome, and to me, I just want to learn more and more and more and more. And I even took my students back there from Harlem. I took two students, one in 2012 and one in 2014, and they got to ride horses, and they went to an African American tour, and they went to my college, and we stayed in college dorms, and it was good for them to see something outside of Harlem and where I'm from. They got to see my high school, they got to see my childhood home. I mean, I just want to be able to connect them in a way that it's beyond the classroom and that is real, something they can relate to.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Kentucky is a very powerful state. I mean, I played a huge part in national politics, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and people like that.
He's a House leader now, yeah.
Majority. Do you see yourself returning to Kentucky in the future?
No.
Okay.
No.
But you're very passionate about Kentucky. I mean, you feel like you represent Kentucky everywhere you go.
I am. I can't forget where I come from, but I won't live there. No.
Yeah.
No. Unless, I have a home or there's something really pulling me back there. But right now, I don't see myself anytime soon moving to Kentucky. But I do want to create a network and a kind of exchange between New York and Kentucky, since both places grew me up, Both places are where I had roots. I mean, it's the only two places I've ever lived. In New York. Well, I was born in Ohio, but I left Ohio when I was very young. I was 4 years old. So I was in Kentucky for 20 years of my life.
Right.
Yeah, and then I've been in New York for I just made 11 years. So, I mean, that's the majority of my life, more than half of my life. So, I just consider both of those places sacred only because you can't forget your roots, and I'll never forget my roots. I'll talk about the good and the bad and the ugly from the state of Kentucky, and I'll talk about the good and the bad and the ugly from the state of New York. With all the stuff that's going on in New York and all the police brutality and all the killings by the police, that plays a heavy part in the story that I'm telling about Brown Girl Bluegrass. So that they both interconnect, and the stories are universal.
Well, ask you this, I mean, I think you make some great points because I want to ask you this, how do you define success for yourself?
Wow. Success for me is doing what I love and getting paid to do it. And what I mean by that is, for years I denied myself of being a performer because, growing up in a religious household, and I still consider myself a person that is connected to God, I do think that sometimes you're given conflicted messages when you grow up in a house that kind of says you just devote yourself to a supreme being and that's it, and if you do anything outside of that, you're not promoting this idea. But for me, I was fighting it because I know that my gift is God-given and right inside of me and seeing God inside of me. But I think that success basically is following what your gift is and being able to make a living out of that gift unapologetically.
That sounds really good. I like that. And also, you have anything on your bucket list, in terms of you want to do before you get out of here, and at the final grand exit?
Bucket list. I want to go to all 7 continents and connect with people and write stories in every country and every continent.
That sounds pretty. I like that. That's ambitious. You got a lot of living in
all places.
I like that. What about Cuba? Starting Cuba?
Yeah. Now that we got the relations of U.S. and Cuba are now amiable, apparently. We'll see how that goes, and I'm looking for a starter. But yeah, it's definitely something that I want to connect with other people and hear their stories and see how brown girl bluegrass connects with brown girl Atlantic Ocean, brown girl Cuba, brown girl, brown boy Peru, brown girl, brown boy India, brown girl, brown boy Amsterdam. You know, like all these places where you know brown people are exist, but maybe their stories are not as prevalent or popular. I would love to hear how those stories would turn out. You know, that would be awesome.
Well, like this, do you see yourself as a social activist or a change agent by any chance?
Yeah, I see myself as somebody. I think education is activism, and I think sometimes we think by marching or protesting or, you know, being very outspoken when it comes to the rights of humans, sometimes we focus more on that as activism, but I think education is a civil right. And I do think that teaching the children and teaching the babies, I call them the babies, teaching them who they are is activism in itself, because there is nobody, and especially in my schools that I've taught, there weren't many people that looked like my students. So it was my job every single day, all day, to let them know you and I are the same. Be proud of who you are. And, you know, I made my business to wear my hair as kinky and coily as possible so they can see this is what I look like. I made it as purposeful as possible every single day. I want to make sure that they knew about black scientists and black historians, and I wanted them to know about black educators and actors and singers and performers, and not just the ones that they see in public, but the ones that influence those that they see in public. So to me, that's a change agent. To me, edutainment and education is the change agent for me, and that's the path I choose to be an activist in.
I'm going to ask you this, too. I know I'm throwing out these interesting questions, generic questions, but if you could have dinner with anybody living or dead, if you could have dinner with 3 people, anybody living or dead, who would those people be?
3 people. Okay, D'Angelo's on the list.
That's right.
I just want to sing with him. I want to sing with him. So D'Angelo, I would love to sit down and talk to Nikki Giovanni. She's one of my favorite poets, period. And I would love to talk to, let me see, so I got a poet, I got a singer. I would love to talk to anybody from the civil rights movement, maybe like somebody from the student nonviolent coordinating committee, somebody from the civil rights movement. I would love to talk to, there was a guy in my show called Robert Charles O'Hara Benjamin. I would love to talk to him because he had so much juice about him, and I want to find out more. So I would love to kind of pick his brain and sit down with him, and then he would tell me about, like, getting African Americans to vote in 1900, and then Nikki Giovanni would write a poem about it, and me and D'Angelo would write songs, and it'll be a great thing.
Well, I think it could happen, actually. I think it could really happen. You know, you can make that happen easily.
I think it can happen. I'm going to. It is affirmed that I will meet D'Angelo and we will write songs together. It's affirmed.
I believe that. I mean, you're in the right place. I mean, even with Nikki Giovanni, she's at Virginia Tech. You just ain't that far away from her.
She's around.
Yeah, I met her a couple times. She's good people. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I like what you're doing. I like, these are very reachable and feasible that you could do these things.
Yeah. I think I could do it. I mean, not even I think. I know it's possible. It's just, you know, being at the right place at the right time, having people exposed to my show. You know, that's because right now I'm physical director for BK Nation. It's founded by Kevin Powell.
Right.
People come with a lot of followers. So because he has a lot of followers and I'm over the musical portion of BK Nation, I get to host and find musical acts that represent the independent artists of New York City. So we just got finished doing a concert, and I met already a few actors that I admire their work already, just on Friday alone. And there was up to 300 people at the spot. So me and my band were rocking out, and I think as we continue with this, as it gets bigger and it gets stronger, and people are seeing that there's an independent art scene that is growing and thriving, and that we have people of content and substance, I do think that those situations will be set up and ideal for me to meet people that I admire from an artistic standpoint, you know?
That's beautiful. Wow. And let me ask you, what would be a place you would like to perform in New York that you know I made it? I made it. This was like, okay.
The Blue Note. The Blue Note.
Blue Note.
To me,
Okay, wow.
The Blue Note is the epitome of, like, I made it. It's a singer's place. Or even doing something like at the Public Theater or Joe's Pub. I think it's like they're huge venues.
Mm-hmm.
Also, people are mentioning Apollo. So, those couple of places. But when I think of, like, singers and, like, songwriting, I think of the Blue Note. And it's possible. I know it's in the works for me to do it. It's just being able to talk to the right people to book me.
So, like, what advice you would give somebody who wants to be an artist in New York, they want to come to New York and be an artist? What advice would you give?
You have to be tenacious. I mean, when I first got here, I had to, like, work hard for people to see me. I had to, like, bother people. Are you going to put me up? Are you going to put me? Like, I had to truck my butt out to Brooklyn and to Bronx and to Harlem and let people know who I was and talk to them. And I realized, I was like, dang, I need something to represent myself. Eventually things came where I got cards and CDs and things like that, and now I have somewhat of a following, somewhat. I'm still not where I feel like where people will know me and go, oh! Like, people, I've only met a few people that don't know me, that I don't know, that know my work. So I'm trying to get to a point where people that I don't know are walking up to me and going, wow, you've moved me.
Right.
And I want to be able to move as many people as I can without necessarily having to know them personally, but for them to know the story and to spread it to somebody else outside of me. So that's the goal, and that's what I'm thinking. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, I would say for artists to never ever give up. If you truly believe in who you are, if you truly believe that greatness lives within your soul and that you are, you gotta keep going. And you practice and you go to open mics and you get people to see you and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going and keep going and keep going. So the open mic that you saw me at, I'm a regular, so people know me even before I even get on the mic. So I'm a regular there. But only because I've been going there. And then people come to shows outside of that one. So it's just not ever giving up, not ever losing sight of your goal. And I think that's very important. Because some people are like, after 2 years, I'm good. But the past 2 years for me have been a whirlwind. Things have picked up so quickly. It's hard to be like, oh, my gosh, And all I can do is just be humble and give thanks. But you've got to just move your butt, shake hands, and talk to everybody that you can about who you are and the message that you're trying to emote,
I definitely agree with that, and I think you're doing a great job because that's why I'm talking to you right now. When I first met you and saw what you're doing, you have this type of energy that you won't be denied. Like, you won't be denied. And then whatever you put your mind to and your will, so you can make it real, you make it happen. I think you've got that God force in you that you won't be denied. It's not a question of if, it's only a matter of when. Yeah. So I commend you on that. And what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you, to follow you, to become a fan? I mean, what can we do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm on Facebook as Berry. So you can look me up, Berry. I have a fan page on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Berry & Co., because that's the name of my band. So it's BerryAndCO, like Berry and Company, C.O. And then I'm also on Instagram as Lacresha Berry. Just Berry, look up Lacresha Berry, and I have, like, videos, and I have pieces of my show that I just did, and I have songs that I've done at open mics and things like that. And then I think that's it. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to post it.
And the email is there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You are very accessible, and you're very good people. And like I said, I tell people all the time, the words of great Fidelity, and we love you madly. Just keep on producing and pushing. And I look forward to seeing you in person, live, in your element up in New York City sometime in the near future. Even from
that'd be great.
Yeah, and Nikki Giovanni, that'd be awesome to see. Y'all put out an album together or some type of book.
Yeah, or something with D'Angelo. With D'Angelo.
I think it can happen. I think it can happen. Definitely.
Yeah. And I would love to come to Tennessee as well because Tennessee and Kentucky got the same roots.
Oh, definitely,
So,
definitely.
We can make it happen.
Hey, we share Caliparian coming in at least that.
That's funny. That's funny. We all know the true stage. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and Sister Barry, we just really wish you well and keep on keeping on. Don't be a stranger. And we look forward to seeing you blow up even more. Much success in 2015.
I appreciate it. That energy is what I need to keep me pushing forward.
I'll definitely, and I'll be staying in touch with you via text or whatever, and hopefully have you back on my show.
Sounds good.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
you take care of yourself.
That sounds great.
Awesome. That do sound great. You got something else.
Sound good.
Yeah.
Just let me know, and I'll call right in.
All right, cool. I will. Take care of yourself.
All right.
And tell your mom that she did a great job.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
Okay, bye.
All right. And that's Sister Lacresha Berry, brown girl, bluegrass, a very phenomenal artist extraordinaire. You're going to be hearing some great things from her. We'll do our part on We All Be to promote what she's doing and let y'all know upcoming performance dates and whatnot. And hopefully you can bring her to a city, town, county, state, whatever near you.